Do you want to know how to prepare for an online test and interview? Great, because you're in the right place and I'm going to tell you how I used to prepare for my job interview. What's up everyone? Welcome to my other YouTube videos. If this is your first time here and you want to see more videos on career, life motivation, and personal finance related topics, click subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Guess what? We're in our last video for the graduate job offer playlist. By the end of this playlist, I really hope you have an idea on how you can prepare yourself and finally land the graduate job offer. For those of you who have just seen this video, I started this playlist by talking about the different strategies and tips that you can use to land the graduate job offer. Then, I had a deeper discussion on networking, CV, and cover letter. And now it's time to talk more about the online tests and interviews, which will mark the end of the playlist. So if you haven't seen the other videos, please feel free to check it out. I think it will really give you a holistic view of the whole process. By the way, if your interview is tomorrow, please do not watch this video. This video is for someone who has at least a few weeks to prepare. If your interview is tomorrow, my tips are for you to brainstorm some answers and make sure you know the company and the role that you're applying well. And that's it. Close this video, start preparing, and good luck. If you're still watching this, I'm assuming you still have at least a few weeks to go. This is so great because remember I mentioned that you need to prepare your online test and interview in advance in my first video? If you don't recall, please feel free to refer to it. Today, we are going to discuss how you can prepare for the online test, including video interview and face-to-face interview. At the end of this video, I'm also going to tell you what I did before the interview to not feel nervous. So make sure to keep watching till the end. How do you prepare for an online test? I'm actually very glad that you're watching this right now because the most common mistake that students make, they tend to think online tests are not as important and they don't prepare at all. Let me tell you something. Online tests need to be taken seriously because online tests carry some weight on whether or not you'll get the actual interview. So if you did poorly in the online test, you may not progress to the next stage. So you need to do as much practice as possible for the online test because you want to get the highest score you can get. The first thing you need to do in preparing the online test is to figure out the type of online test that your target company is having. Is it a psychometric test or aptitude test, or is it a game-based assessment? They may have this information on their website, or you can get to know this in their networking event. Then, what you need to do is just Google it. There are tons of practice tests out there. I got asked a lot on how long you should be practicing. There's no straightforward answer because everyone has their own learning pace. So I would say practice till you have felt really comfortable with the test. But if I really have to give you a number, I would say around 50 to 60 hours. How do you prepare for a video interview? Similar to online tests, you shouldn't take video interview lightly. You should treat video interviews and online tests as you treat face-to-face interview. Why? First of all, again, if you did poorly in this, you may not get progress. Second of all, I personally found it quite challenging without any preparation, and it's not because of the questions. It's because it felt so awkward talking to the camera, and not to mention when I did my interview, I had to talk for about 2 to 3 minutes non-stop. So if you don't prepare, it's going to be very hard. Don't believe me? Tell about yourself or tell me about the time when you resolve a conflict. You have 30 seconds to prepare and you have 2 to 3 minutes to respond, starting right now. Feel free to pause this video, by the way. If you find it easy, then good on you. You're a natural. But if not, then also good on you because now you know and you can start preparing. By the way, you can't just talk about random things about yourself for 2 to 3 minutes. Everything needs to be structured, which means whoever is watching your video interview shouldn't be confused by your story. You also need to be as polished as possible, which means there shouldn't be long pauses or too much So what I did during my preparation was I brainstormed some answers for basic behavioral questions that they might ask. For example, tell me about yourself, or why do you think you're the right fit for our company? I type out the answer and rehearse it over and over again. With typing and rehearsing, it's personal preference. The key is to brainstorm some answers and practice talking in front of the camera. Practicing in front of the camera is very important because talking to the camera versus talking to an actual human being is different. The first time I tried, I honestly just froze because I found it extremely weird talking by myself and not being able to see anyone. So we definitely don't want this to happen in the actual video interview. It's also good to see what is being captured in camera. From this, you can learn how you speak. Did you look nervous? Did you look so tense? How can you improve? Another thing is, it's also good to see what is in the camera other than you. Will there be any posters on the wall being captured or some personal stuff that you don't want people to see? How do you prepare for the interview? Finally, after all of that hard work, you made it to the interview and you're getting so close in getting the offer. How should you prepare to ensure you get the offer? First, you need to check what kind of interview you'll be getting. Do you just have some behavioral questions, or you'll have both behavioral and technical questions? So, behavioral questions are pretty much questions on yourself and your past experiences. Recruiters are trying to use your past performance to predict the future. These questions could sound very simple and basic, but like any other interview, you need to prepare. You want your answer to sound structured and articulate. You can do this by answering it using the famous STAR method. So it's answering the question by first telling the situation, then continuing with the task, action, and result. The reason why you need to prepare is because you need to brainstorm and pick the right scenario for the answer. For example, the question is, tell me a time when the project changes drastically. How did you handle it and what was the outcome? Should you tell the time when your teammate disappeared for a uni project, or should you tell the time when you were working on a project during your internship and the client's request just got changed last minute? After you decide this, how do you structure your story? I don't believe people are born and can speak in STAR method. I think it's something that you need to practice, and this should really help to structure your answer. Sometimes when you apply for a job, they'll ask you for some technical questions. For example, if you apply for a science job, they might ask you a few things related to the science project to test your knowledge. Or if you're applying for consulting jobs, you'll have case interview. Obviously, when you know you're about to have technical questions, you need to refresh your memory to ensure that you still remember everything. If you want to learn more about case interviews, I'd recommend reading Victor Chang's book. This book is amazing. It has so much great information, not just in case interviews, but it's also a great introduction to consulting and why case interview exists. After knowing why you have case interview, it really does help me to understand how to tackle it. I also love Victor Chang's approach to case interview. He teaches you to think creatively and there is no need to memorize tons of framework. So I highly recommend reading this book. I'll leave the link to this book in the description below if you want to check it out. As promised, I'm going to tell you what I did before the interview to calm my nerves. So, feeling nervous during an interview is totally normal, but we definitely don't want this to affect your performance. So what I did was, a few days before the interview, and I do not recommend doing this right before the interview, I imagined myself doing the interview. Like, I really imagine myself doing the interview, like picturing myself in the room and feeling nervous. I can usually feel my heart beat faster during this. I will play a conversation with my interviewer in my head and I'll answer the question while still having this nervous feeling. I did this several times until I can't feel nervous anymore. On the day, somehow I feel a lot better. I don't know if anyone else is doing this. If you're also doing this, please leave a comment below because I would love to know. But this is legit what I did several days before the interview. I don't know how I can feel calm after doing this. Maybe I maxed out on feeling nervous, or maybe I realized that I can sound somewhat okay even when I'm feeling nervous, and that's why I'm not nervous or scared anymore because I know it won't affect my performance. Or maybe I've learned how to answer the questions when I'm nervous, and that's why I just feel confident on the day. Another thing that I did was I imagined the worst thing that can happen and how I can deal with it if it happens. I then realized there is nothing that I can't handle if the worst happens. So I have no more reason to be worried for the interview. I hope by sharing this you can find something that is useful for you, but I understand that this thing varies from person to person, so you should find something that will work for you. I'm just sharing this in case it could be helpful. As I mentioned earlier, this video marks the completion of the graduate job offer playlist. So while you're waiting for the next video to release, make sure to check this video right here. I talk a lot about career, life motivation, and personal finance, so please click on the subscribe button if this is what interests you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a nice day and a great week. I'll see you guys in the next week's video. Bye!